Right guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm just going to be showing you a step-by-step guide on how to change your rear wheel bearings in your DT Swiss disc road wheel. So we'll go ahead and we'll get into it. Right, so here we have the DT Swiss rear wheel, as you can see. Now this just happens to be an R24 spline rear wheel, so this uses the 3-pull free hub. So this guide will apply to a wheel using the 3-pull free hub system and not the ratchet system. If the ratchet system, it varies slightly, but this is concentrating on the 3-pull free hub. As I said, this is a R24 spline rear wheel, road, straight spokes, aero spokes, as you can see, tubeless ready rear wheel. So I'll go ahead. The first thing you're going to do is remove your cassette from the free hub, or if you're not removing it, if you don't want to remove the cassette completely off, if you've had it off before, then you can just remove it with the body still attached, the free hub still attached. So you can go ahead and pull up on that and remove that, and then the second thing you want to do after that is remove your disc. Now obviously you might have a 6-bolt on there or a centre lock, so you need the appropriate either hex head or the cassette tool, lock ring tool, like so. You can undo your disc as well, same as the cassette. Right, like I said, to remove the cassette, you can either remove it off the free hub completely by using your cassette lock ring tool and undoing the lock ring and then sliding the cassette off. Or if you've had that off before and you know it comes off with the free hub, if you regularly service the free hub and you know it comes off, then you can always just get hold of it either side of the cassette, like so, and then lever up on it like that, and as you can see, it'll just come off with the free hub in place already on there, so you don't have to worry about taking the cassette off. Right, so once you got the cassette off like I showed, then you can go ahead and remove your disc. And if you've got a centre lock like this, you can use a lock ring tool to remove it, like so, with the appropriate sized socket over there. So this just happens to be a 24mm. Pop that over there, and then you go ahead, put your ratchet on there, and go ahead and remove that, like so. Just break it loose, and you can take the lock ring off like that. Then just a case of lifting your disc off. And there's the disc. Right, next step, staying on the disc side, is you want to remove the end cap off of there. Now, if you've had these off before and grease them, then you may well be able to get hold of it and pull it off by hand, but normally you can't. So what you need to do is flip the wheel over, get yourself some soft jaws in a vise. So flip the wheel over like so, and then put the soft jaws in the vise and sit that down so it's just touching on the metal area around there, as you can see. So it's just clamped on that metal area, and then once you've got it clamped in the vise like that, just lightly clamping it is enough to be able to just pull up, use the wheel, and then just pull up on the wheel and just pop that undone, then the cap will pop off. So that's normally what you got to do. They won't normally pull off by hand very easy unless you've had them off before, or you've only just had it off like in the last couple of days, something like that. Normally they're on there and you need a vise just to be able to pop that cap off. Right, so there we have the end cap off, as you can see. You see the bearing inside there. Now the reason these stick on there and they're job to pull off by hand is because they've got an O-ring up inside there, and normally if there's no grease on that O-ring, then it tends to stick onto the shaft there. So that's why they can be a little tricky to remove if you haven't had them off before. So right, that's that done. We'll move on to the next step. Right, so once you've done that, you flip the wheel over. This is the free hub body side. You can just pull off the spacer there. Put that to, safe to one side with your other parts for cleaning. You see the wheel bearing this side as well. Obviously this is the free up side, sticks up longer there, and that's the disc side, as you can see, which is flush, shaft flush with it there. So what you need to do is we need to hit it out of the disc side first, the bearing. So the best way to do it, if you haven't got any special tools, because there isn't any needed, is get yourself a couple of blocks of wood like so. Now the blocks want to be the same thickness, and then what happens is you can hit that down from the other side and it'll come out this side, but as you can see you need room for that shaft to come to move as well as the bearing. So to start with, you haven't got to worry about it, the bearing, it's just the shaft coming down through. So you can rest it on a piece of wood like so, one either side, as long as it's not, the shaft's not being interfered with on the way down. Then obviously put them closer together like so, just enough now the shaft to come down. And then on this end what you want to do is get a small block of wood and hold it in position over here, another block of wood over the top of there, and then hit that with a soft blow hammer. Don't ever hit this here with a standard hammer, a metal hammer. It will ruin that straight away. That's only made of soft aluminium, and it will damage the end, and once this is damaged then it's game over. So we'll place that on there and we'll get to hitting this out and down through. Right there you can see the bearings come out there. So all we got to do now with the shaft is just pull it through. See, this is this side. Keep pulling it through until it comes out like so, as you see the bearings on there. Right, so once we remove the shaft and the bearing from the disc side, obviously what we want to do then is remove the bearing there from the free hub side. So to do that you've got a couple of options. What you can do is the shaft that you've just removed that had the wheel bearing on it, obviously it was through like that when you removed it, so you just flip it back over so you got the short side going down inside there. Then you can put that down in there, locate it on the bearing, use the blocks of wood again under it and hit down on there again to remove it. So that's one option, but to avoid damaging this I don't tend to bother using that, just in case it gets damaged in any way and then you've ruined your axle there. So I just get a deep drive. You can use your short one with an extension bar on it if you haven't got a deep drive socket. That's a 17mm. So 17, just drop it down in there and then you can hit that and knock the bearing out up on your pieces of wood again, hit down on there, and you haven't got to worry about damaging the socket. So that's the way I would do it. So I'll go ahead, I'll knock that out. As you can see there, the bearing starts to come through. I've still got the socket in there and it's coming through, as you can see. So I'll just continue hitting it until it's flush there, and then just hold it up off the piece of wood and then just give it a few taps and it'll just pop out. So you can do that on a block of wood, just flat like so on the block of wood. You don't have to worry about using two blocks of wood to start with. You can just put it on the one block of wood and hit down on that until it starts to come through, and then once it's going to almost pop out flush, when it's flush you can just lift it up off the piece of wood, give it a couple of taps and it will just pop out. Well, as you can see I've got it flat on a block of wood like so. Then I hit down on there, just the one block of wood, hit down on the top of the socket there. Until it's just sticking out like so. Now all I do is hold it up off the block of wood, I'll just keep it hovering in the air. And there you go, the socket will come out the bottom. And there's your old bearing. Obviously we're not reusing it, we're putting new bearings in, that's the whole idea. So they're cartridge bearings, so knock them out and replace them. Right, so you can see bearings are both out of the wheel. Now you're ready, just go and give the insides there a good clean up and degrease and check them. Make sure there's no damage or anything. Just clean the shaft off, just generally clean the old grease off, and then you're ready to go ahead and install the new bearings. Right, so we got the hub there cleaned up and the parts. Now ready to reinstall your new bearings. Obviously always use high quality bearings, don't use any cheap wheel bearings. Go for high quality ones, such as the standard ones that come out of the wheel in the first place, HCH or NSK or SKF, something like that. So we got the new bearing there. So what we want to do is we need to put that in there. This is the Freehub body side, as you can see. But before we put it in, on the opposite side that's going to go down inside the wheel there, we'll put some grease on there just to help keep any water out of the, even though it's got a seal on there, it won't matter, water will get in there. If you wash your bike or whatever, ride it in the wet. So we want to try and keep that out, and then put a smear of grease around the outside of the bearing itself on here, and just in there. Just put some on your finger and just wipe some grease around in there before we go ahead and knock this in. So I'll just do that. Right, so we've covered it in grease there. We put some grease around the actual bearing itself and inside the hub, light smear. Then we're ready to put this in. Now the idea is to get it square in to the actual hub before you go and start hitting it in. Make sure that it's square. It's no good having it sticking at an angle, so when you look at it, it's like that, at an angle, one side, the right side is lower than the left. That's no good. So it's just a case of fettling it. You can push it in slightly with your finger and just get it lined up so it's going to go in straight. So once you've got it, once you're happy that it's lined up, then we go ahead and we can hit it in. Now to hit it in, what I'm using is a 20mm socket, and it fits exactly over the bearing like so on the outer edge. You're not hitting on the where the dust seal is or anything to do any damage. You're not hitting in the middle, you're just hitting it right on the outside edge like so. So I'll go ahead and we hit this in. Just make sure when you're tapping it in, just take the socket away, have a look, it's going in flush and square, and then give it a few more taps and just make sure you can adjust it and make sure it's going in square. That's the key. Right, so we got the bearing in there, as you can see. Just started it off, so I'll go ahead and we tap it in. I say it's just a case of checking it, just tapping it in a little bit and then checking it. It's going in nice and square. Just keep checking it. Just tapping it on down. As you can see there, I'll just show you. It's going in nicely. So once it starts to line up and it's going in square, then you can carry on with your socket. Just carry on and knock that in until it's all the way in. Right, so you can check, so you make sure the bearing's gone all the way in and it's down past the just under the ratchet there for the free hub. So when you hit it in, as it hits the bottom, the note will change when you're hitting it in anyway, so you can tell that it's all the way in. But then just go ahead and check it. So feel it. So it's brand new bearing, so shouldn't be pinched or anything. Should be nice and free moving. So that's the Freehub side done. We move on to the opposite side. Right, so we got the shaft there, ready to reinstall it. I just put a bit of grease. This is the long side that goes through the Freehub, up through the Freehub side, what you just installed the bearing in. Just put a smear of grease around where the bearing's going to sit, just around that area there, where it sits in the bearing. Then you can go ahead and just lift your wheel up put it through from the disc side. Just put the shaft through like so, and then line it up there and push it through into place so it sits all the way in like that. And once you've done that, then we're obviously going to put the bearing in from this side, so it's the same thing again. Get your new bearing there, put some grease on the back side of it, what you don't see, then a smear of grease around the surface, the outer surface there, all the way around. Just put some grease inside where it's going to sit. Then we go ahead and we line that up and ready to install this side then. Right, so we got the shaft in as I showed. This is the disc side. So push that all the way in after we put some grease round in there. Just get your bearing like so and just drop it in over the shaft like so. You should be able to push it down a little way by hand, so it should just drop inside there like that, and then we're ready to hit it in. But now we've got the shaft sticking out the bottom where the freehub body will go, then obviously we need the 2 blocks of wood to miss that shaft like so. So you put your block either side again and balance it up on 2 blocks just to be able to tap that in. Then you can go ahead and get your socket again, same socket as before, 20mm, rest that over there, and then same again, make sure it's going in nice and square and tap it in until it's all the way home. So I just thought I'd show you, there's the 2 blocks of wood like so, the shaft sticking down like I showed, there's the socket, and we started the bearing in there already, so it's gone a little bit in, so I'll just continue tapping that in until it's all the way home. Right, so there's both bearings installed, the wheel brand new bearing, so we're ready to go ahead and refit the rest of it up. Right, so ready to refit the end caps. Now if you've had the other side off earlier as well, if you remove the cassette separately and the freehub body, then you have 2 of these to put back on like this. But if not, then you just have this one. What you want to do is just put the grease on, make sure you put some grease on it and just up inside it there before you go ahead and put it on, just to make sure that it come off a bit easier next time. So you go ahead and just push that back on there, and then you just pop it in place, and that's the end cap refitted. Right guys, so there's the cassette and the disc put back on. I'll say if you want to know how to give the 3-pull hub a service, and I'll just put a link on the at the end of the video to that on the screen. But that's ready to refit now. The new bearings ready to run again. Right, so here's the tools that we used. Obviously the rear wheel was removed from the bike, simple enough job. Then we've got 2 new wheel bearings, hammer, 2 blocks of wood that you saw, ratchet, 24mm socket, and that was for the cassette lock ring tool, and for the disc. Obviously if you've got a 6-bolt disc, then you'll just need 1 extra Allen key. Obviously that was just for that. Then the 2 sockets were a 17mm deep drive to go down through to knock the bearing out. Obviously this isn't needed if you use the shaft, but I just prefer to use a socket in case you damage the shaft in any way. And then a 20mm socket just for knocking in the bearings like I showed. And the only thing we used was a couple of blocks of wood like I said, and some grease just to put around the bearings and in the hub, and that's all the parts used. Right, so there's the steps complete for you. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, remember to give the video a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Until the next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.